It's 12 noon. I'll call this meeting to order. So we have a congratulations. Now that we are no longer embargoed, our own Julie Brandel from our Rotary Club of Akron is the DGND, District Governor Nominee Designate for 2023-2024. Congratulations, Julie. The announcement was sent out to all club presidents in our district 2 weeks ago, and it was still embargoed, so we couldn't say anything or celebrate or any of that. So I want to know that our own Julie has done us proud, and we're looking forward to supporting her in her time as district governor and as she prepares. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know I shared my thoughts with the board, but I just obviously I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my awesome club, because you guys helped me love Rotary, and then look what happens.
You love Christmas trees, you love Rotary, you're just a love fest.
It's a great time of year all of a sudden for the first time in a very long time.
Well, we're very excited for you to have this opportunity and for us to take that journey with you. And I will share to the club, we try to be very transparent. This is one thing we can't be transparent about. That's the Rotary rules, that the club has to be willing to support the candidate, but we're not allowed to tell anybody in the club other than the board members. So you may have heard that we had a executive session of our board spontaneously or very quickly, because the turnaround timeline was tight, and where we did talk about this. And I'm really excited to say that this club can keep a secret, at least our board can, because I didn't hear any leaks, any winks, anything. So good job to those of you who've been sitting on this information for a while, and we're really excited. Thanks. Okay, and then other announcements. I'm not going to steal Katie's thunder. I think she's going to make a happy dollar announcement. So I had something on my list here about some of the activities she's doing, but I will say congratulations to our treasurer, Michael, because his son had finished the first percentile of the high school placement test. So congratulations, Michael. He must take after dad. And Dan Riemenschneider, his son Tyler, passed the bar exam. So congratulations. Those are kind of good, exciting things to have happen. As far as birthdays coming up, we've got Mark Auburn and Cheryl Warren. Happy birthday this week. And club anniversaries, Tom Gettleman was the only one on our list, and he has an anniversary from 12/9. So congratulations. Who's happy, Katie?
Okay, so I'm happy, and for a couple different reasons, and I'll give you my amount of happiness after I'm done. So first of all, Sandy and Aragon and I have worked really hard on a holiday outreach that's going to be happening. So Rotarians will be getting little special cards from other Rotarians, and they were randomly selected at a cool program Sandy found, and we're really excited about that. It came together fairly quickly with a couple hitches, but I think it's going to be great to bring some sunshine to everybody. So there's one happy dollar. Second happy dollar is I'm so immensely proud of Julie Brandel. She's a dear friend, and I just couldn't be prouder that she's representing our club and moving on to doing this. I think she's going to be fantastic at it. And then, so that's another happy dollar. And finally, I'm going to give 30 happy dollars, because as I'm talking to you from my COVID camper, I am going to miss my daughter's 30th birthday tomorrow, who happens to be one of our speakers today. And she moved home from New York in January, right before COVID started. And not many 30-year-olds would want to live with their parents, and not many parents would want their 30-year-old living with them. But having both of our adult daughters with us has been a blessing in disguise, because I don't know any other time that we would have been able to spend this much time with them. So happy birthday, Allie. I'm very proud of you. And sorry we can't be there tomorrow, but I wanted to share it with everybody. So there's 32 happy dollars.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Who else is happy? Flipping through the screens here. Susan Coble-Hull is happy.
There. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, well, I'm happy because our Rotary Exchange Committee met last week, and we're moving ahead. I think most of you know that we've been very quiet since we sent home our two exciting members last year. But we've got some great ideas, and I'll send the minutes to Cheryl, so they'll be in the next report. But meanwhile, I've heard from two other individuals. Bridget O'Keefe reached out to me. She was a Rotary Exchange student from Norton High School who went to Japan in 1989, and she's now in San Francisco. And she wants to help build a path for students from Norton High School to do what she did and what her siblings after her did, because it was such an exciting experience for her. And of course, it changed her life forever. And meanwhile, I've also heard from Lynette Bowman, who is an acquaintance of Bill Manby. She's in Stowe, Ohio, and would like to facilitate an exchange with a student from Mexico to Stowe. So those are some things that we're working on. Plus, we hope to get some of our students back to you, so all of you can hear what exciting things they did, what they learned, how it changed their lives, and how that might impact you, your kids, your neighbors' kids, your relatives, your grandkids, or whatever, because we're going to get this up and running for 2021, 2022, 23. So we're not letting it drop, and it's an exciting experience for all concerned.
Well, thanks. And thanks for your leadership on this. Any other happy dollars?
Dr. Rob, I have
Christina?
five.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
David Hall, I have five happy dollars. I wanted to thank people. I've sent out an email over the weekend asking for invocation speakers and greeters / moderators. And I want to thank Doug Cole for pointing out the fact I screwed up my setup and had some wrong dates in there and got those corrected. So those are out there. If anybody needs any help in getting the signed up, please let me know. I'll be happy to help you walk through that. And then lastly here, I just wanted to, I see one guest here joined, Tim Miller. Thanks for joining, and welcome to Tim.
Christina, are you happy?
I am. I'm very happy today. I've got 5 happy dollars and a check in the mail that's already in the box, Mela. So you should have that for a lot of happy dollars that I owe. But 5 happy dollars, we just got notification today that Buckeye Corrugated is going to be a corporate partner for our Chili Open again. So they're in for 5,000 for this 2021. So we're very excited about that. And then also happy, I'm here with my son today. I'm sure you will see him bopping around. He's got recess now. But on the another call, he looked on the camera and he's like, I see the master of the boats on there. Dr. Robbie is talking about you from Dragon Boats. So happy, that he's engaging and trying to get him a little more involved as things progress. So
That's good. That's great. Thanks. Anybody else happy?
Connor's got his hand up.
Okay, Connor.
Yeah. No, I'll add just one happy dollar in the theme of my invocation. I suppose my wife and I, Courtney and Emerson, took a little car trip over to Louisville over the weekend, and I volunteer with a few other Rotary members for Akron Children's palliative care team, and was able to deliver a little Christmas tree gift to a family over in Louisville, and of course stayed away, mask on, all of that, but was just able to deliver that and spread some cheer. So was a nice little road trip, and happy to be able to help in that way.
Oh, great. Thanks, Connor. And thank you from Akron Children's. So I can wear my other hat too. And I'll wrap us up with 10 happy dollars. I think that this has been a really fun opportunity for us to continue to stay connected. And it's been fun to reach out to some of the Rotarians. John Daly had a birthday last week, and I got a chance to chat with him after he shared that great pumpkin pie recipe. So I think there's a lot of things that we're getting to know about each other that we wouldn't necessarily do in person. And I celebrate Julie Brandel and her upcoming work. So thank you. And now may I have the speaker's slide, Cheryl? Okay, with us today, we have almost birthday girl, I guess, Allie Miller, who her mom already disclosed that she's related to our own Katie, and Chris Meyers. And they both work at the Playhouse Square Community Engagement and Education. And they're going to talk to us about that activity and anything else about the Playhouse from backstage. So I will not take up any more of their time. Please take it away.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for allowing us to come down and talk to you guys, or virtually come and talk to you guys today. Obviously, we wish we could be in person, as you guys wish you could get together every week in person, but unfortunately, this is what we have to do with. We have to roll the dice or change some ways that we're doing some things. What we're going to talk about today is I'm going to give an overview about what's actually going on at Playhouse Square, and kind of touching back all the way through when the pandemic started, all the way up to today, and then what's next for Playhouse Square. Allie will jump in here in a few minutes and talk about a program that we're working with, and then I'll come back in and finish out with a couple of education programs, and then also the sensory shows that we do here at Playhouse Square. So to give everybody an update on Playhouse Square, March 12th was the day that everybody's world probably got turned upside down, including ours. We were in the middle, or actually just at the very beginning of 24 performances. We had done 2 under our belt of Jesus Christ Superstar, and then we were looking to keep having a great success with it's basically a sold out show for 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And at that time, we weren't sure what to expect. We weren't sure what was coming on. So we were thinking, is it a week? Is it 2 weeks? Could be a month. But, obviously we made the decision right then and there to cancel Jesus Christ Superstar right off the bat, and to basically have them unload load the trucks and take the show out and take the show back to their offices and so forth. Since then, and not just us here at Playhouse Square, but in the theater industry, the whole theater industry shut down at the same time. And it was obviously people were scrambling around trying to figure out what to do and so forth along that lines. And, when are we coming back? Is it going to be March, April, May, June? When is it? And, everything that we heard, next thing you know, a week later, you'd hear another day, and it keeps getting pushed back. To give you some insights on the theater business, all the actors were told just to basically go home, and they would come back. We'll call you when you're coming back. One story I did hear is Lion King. When Lion King travels, they travel with 27 trucks, 27 semis. They bring in when they bring in the show in. Well, they were told the drivers on that March 12th, go home. Well, that's fine. That's great. They told them to go home. The bad thing is those 27 drivers live in 27 different parts of the country. So Lion King set was in 27 different parts of the country for quite a while. So that was like one of the first things that Disney had to figure out is, where's my set? Where are we? Where's our set? How can we get it back together? And so forth. So, as it went on, it became obvious that, the summer was not going to happen. And then here in the fall, and just about a week ago, it was last Monday, week and a half ago, I guess now, we did make a decision on our schedule that we are pushing all the shows back that we're supposed to start here in January. We are pushing them back until the fall of 2021. So right before that announcement, we were up to 680 curtains that had either been canceled or postponed in one realm or another. Shows like Hamilton, we had 6 weeks of Hamilton planned. We had 6 weeks of Frozen that were sold out. So unfortunately, we had to cancel both of those shows, those engagements. But we also had a great success, with our season ticket base. We have a great loyal season ticket base, and they came back. They were coming back. They were ready to go with shows, and support us. And unfortunately, like I said, about a week ago, we had to make the decision to push everything back. And people ask, like timetable with a show and all that, how does it get back up? It's just not as easy as saying, hey, we're going to open on this day and, a week from now or 2 weeks from now, and hey, the cast is going to be ready and so forth. It just really, they're kind of similar. The industry is very similar to sports. When baseball had to cancel and then had to go back in, they couldn't just start playing games. They had to go in and have a 3-4 week spring training, a mini version of spring training, to get the athletes back up. We have to do the same thing here, or Broadway has to do the same thing with the actors. They have to get back in. They just can't walk in off the street and say, okay, hey, we're ready to go. And so we kind of look at when the shows start coming back up, there's going to be 3 different classifications on the shows of how we kind of look at it. Take a show, for instance, Jesus Christ Superstar. When that goes back on the road, that will probably be one of the quicker ones to get back up on its feet, because they've already got the cast done. They've already got the costumes. They already have the everything's already put in place. Or if they don't have the cast, they can pull from past cast and gather very quickly, and maybe have 3, 4, or 5 weeks of rehearsal, and then they could get back up on the road. The megas that we call them, the Lion Kings, the Hamiltons, the Wickeds, those will probably be the second version that will come out on the road. And the reason why they can come out quicker, once again, they have a large number of people that they can pull from for the cast, to get back up on its feet, to get back if anybody wants to join the tour again. But they also typically sit down in a facility for 4, 5, 6 weeks. So they're not moving from city to city to city as quick as some of the others are. The ones that are going to be the last areas to come back are the new shows. One of the shows that we had on our season was Ain't Too Proud, and that was going to be the Temptations musical. And that show will take longer because they need to cast the show. They also need to do the scenery, the costumes, and they do the costumes one by one. There is no mass producing of the costume. They have to sew on all the buttons one at a time. So that takes a while. And then just getting the cast together for a brand new show, you're looking at probably about a 4 to 5 month process on that end to get a show like that up and ready to go on its feet. So that just kind of gives you an overview of Playhouse Square, what we've done in the past here since March, and what we're looking for in the future. People ask, will the season be the same next year? And the answer is no. The season will not be the same. Some shows will stay on that we're on this current season. Unfortunately, some shows will go off. Some shows might come back that have dropped off before, that might come back now. So we're just, the one good thing that came out of this announcement that we've made, the most positive thing is we now have something to look forward to. We have a date to look forward to, something to shoot for and say, hey, here in the fall of 2021, we're coming back. And that's our plan. We're coming back, and we're going to be, once we come back, it's just not, we're going to, okay, how do we do this? How do we do that? We're going to come back, and we're preparing here. We're taking the next 8 months, 9 months, preparing how do we come back and make it bigger and stronger and better. And one of the programs, and I'm going to flip it over to Allie now to talk about, is the campaign that we're doing with our past ticket buyers. Go ahead, Allie, if you want to talk about that interlude program.
Yeah, so even though there's nothing happening at the theaters, our theaters are dark right now. I'm in the office right now in downtown Cleveland. We're still here and working. We've kind of gone past the, refunds, people asking questions, what are you doing? People, especially with the announcement last week from Gina, our CEO, they're much more comfortable, and just kind of things have slowed down a little bit. But that doesn't mean there's not work for us to do. Chris mentioned we have had to cancel or postpone over 600 performances and curtains. That means that we are currently looking at a loss of $7 million for Playhouse Square. So we are actually working on a fundraising campaign right now. It's called the Interlude campaign. Interlude is a musical term for a brief pause in the middle of the music. And that's what this is. It's a brief pause. So we are calling past ticket buyers. Our development team is contacting our annual donors. We're contacting past season ticket holders and current season ticket holders, asking them to donate to ensure that the memories that they have made at Playhouse Square, they can make more and ensure those memories for the future. So that is something that we are working on, especially because we actually only, as a nonprofit, retain 10% of the ticket sales for shows. And since there are no shows going on, we don't even have that income, because we do in a normal year and in the best of the best years, we still rely really heavily on donations to keep us operational. Beyond that, we are still working on education. There's a lot of educational programs going on. Our education team is still working very, very hard to deliver that to the community. And Chris can touch a little bit more on all of the different education programs we are still doing, even though the stages themselves here are dark.
Yeah. Obviously, as Ali says, the stages are dark here, but our education department, one surprise that we had this year was schools. One of the biggest parts of Playhouse Square, if you've ever been downtown in Cleveland on a weekday, chances are during the school year, you've seen buses lined up, 30, 40, 50 buses lined up around Euclid Avenue, around the theaters, for school kids to come down and have field trips and see a show. Well, unfortunately, obviously, with no shows going on, we weren't sure how the schools were going to react. But we received a lot of calls from schools, a lot of inquiries saying, we want to keep the arts going. We want to keep it going, but we can't come down to you. So we thought, we sat there and we brainstormed and we said, well, what happens if you can't bring the kids to Playhouse Square? What happens if we bring the shows to you? And so that's one thing that we've done, our education department has done, is they've gone to all the shows that normally we have on our children's series, all 9 shows, and they went and they got the rights to all 9 shows. Sometimes they had to have the shows actually film the shows again, or if they were already filmed, we had to get the rights to them. But now we have it to where we can take a show and send it to a teacher or send it to our season ticket holders and let them view it in their classroom. And if the classes are virtual right now, then they can share it with their kids virtually. So right now we've had 900 classrooms sign up for programs here at Playhouse Square, which represents about 19,000 kids that we will get a chance to present or keep the arts going in the classroom. The other nice thing there is we also come in with post-show or pre-show or post-show activities for the kids, so that it's just not that you see the show online for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, and then that's it. No, there's activities for the teachers to keep the arts going. So that's one thing there. The other thing, the last thing I'll touch on before we open it up to question and answer, is sensory programs. One of the biggest things that we've done, and probably my proudest moment here at Playhouse Square, is working with the sensory shows or that we've put on. We usually do about 3 to 4 a year, mainly with our children's theater series. We just actually had our first one back in November online with Dan and Claudia Van Zanes. And they put on a show for kids in that realm. And it was a great show. My son actually watched the entire show online, which I was like, wow, that was great, because normally to get him to stay on a Zoom class, it's very difficult. And it's a challenge on that. But one of our biggest event of the year, or a couple years ago, was Lion King. We were able to negotiate a show with Lion King to where we offered it only to families in that caliber or in that area. So this gave us an opportunity to offer that audience a chance to come down as a family, not just to come down as one or two people with the family, or just mom or dad or one brother comes down. We wanted the whole family to come down, and they got to see a full Broadway production of The Lion King. And what was super nice about this is everybody in that, it was not available, the show was not available to sell for the public. You had to answer questions to go through. So everybody that was in there, in that show, in that performance, I kind of refer to it, we were all in the same boat. We were all facing the same challenges. But the nice thing is, this was a time that the family could get together and relax and enjoy something that maybe, you or your neighbor or your family can do a lot, can do a lot. However, on my end, with my son, unfortunately, we're not allowed to go and enjoy some of these things. And it's not just because that we couldn't go enjoy it. We could. We're always more cautious that we're going to upset someone else. So if we sat next to you at a show, we're to be very cautious that we're going to upset you and take away from your experience. So this time, this day was all about, we had over 2,200 families, all came down, all were able to see the show. I still recall the lady that sat next across the aisle from me. This lady, she was probably 16, 17 years old. And she sat there, she knew every word to every Lion King song. She sang at the top of her lungs the whole day, the whole show. And all of us, all the parents around, looked around and kind of just shrugged your shoulders and said, you know what, is she bothering anybody? No. Is she having fun? Yes. Don't let it go. Let it be. No one went and got the ushers. No one got the house manager. People were just, hey, that's what it's about, is to have this child to have fun that day. So that was a great time. That was probably, in my 19 years at Playhouse Square, was by far the highlight of the 19 years that I've been at Playhouse Square. So so those are just one of the things, but we're still looking to bring more sensory programs into the theater, and then also to where we can incorporate and include more families to come down and feel a part of Playhouse Square. So with that said, I would like to open it up to some questions, and if we have a few minutes on that.
Great. Well, thank you for that presentation. We have a question in the chat box here. What a great program for those sensory issues. Is that something our Rotary camp for children with special needs would be able to participate in viewing some way?
Definitely, we can definitely get you guys the information on the virtual programmings. And if we, next time, let's say Lion King comes back around and we do have that, the one other nice thing that I didn't mention, we did have, what we do with that program, we actually go in and purchase the show from Disney. And then instead of coming in and charging the prices that a normal show would charge, we charge a very reduced rate, because we know the families, well, a couple things. Families have extra cost. As you guys know with your camp, you guys know the cost that these families endure. And we didn't want to say, hey, the tickets are $150 or $110, because they're not going to be able to afford it. And even if we did that, our goal is to bring the whole family. And if we said, hey, their tickets are $80, $90, or on that very high end, they might say, oh, okay, hey, only mom and the child can go. Well, no, we don't want that. We want mom, dad, the child. We want brother, sister. This is the one time that they all can come together as a family, compared to just having to pick and choose. So that's one thing. But definitely we can get you guys information on those shows.
That'd be great. Thank you very much. I have another question in the chat room here. What happens to longtime subscribers, and how do we get connected for the September 2021 season?
Well, if you're already signed up for this current season, if you've already paid or on the payment plan, you're already in for when we start back up here in the fall of 21. And the fall, I don't want to, it says September, it might be October, November. We don't know the date. It'll be sometime in the fall is when we start. If you're already paid for this current season that got postponed, you've already paid for the next season. We're just rolling everything over. If you're on a payment plan, we did not charge a December date, but we're going to start up in January and go through June. That way, at the end of June, you'll be paid in full prior to the shows, but then you'll have a big break before the quote unquote the following season starts up again.
Very
And
good.
we are still open, so you can always call us. We're open Monday through
Yeah.
Friday, 9 to 5. It's reduced hours. We are normally open 9 to 9, but with no shows, we are open 9 to 5. So if you're a season ticket holder, you can still call Season Ticket Services. We are still open. If you have questions about single tickets, our individual ticket sales team is still here as well. So we are still here to answer your questions if you think of anything between now and the fall.
Great. We have another question here. How often do you offer the shows for special needs children? How often did you offer the shows for special needs children before the pandemic?
Usually before the pandemic, we had roughly 3 a year. And then with Lion King, we had the fourth one. We usually do 2 of our children's theater shows for kids with special needs. I know the Great Lakes have done in the past. I don't think they did it last year, and obviously they didn't do it this year, but they also did a Christmas Carol, a version of a Christmas Carol for individuals with special needs. So usually it's on the average, on the low end, sometimes 2 shows a year, sometimes up to 4 shows a year. Just depends on our schedule.
Very good. I had a question here. I know there's a couple more coming in, but one question here I had myself, and I apologize if you've already answered in the meeting. I got disconnected for a little bit and had to get reconnected. But as far as your cast, how many are most of the cast members from local areas, or do they come in from out of town, or is it a mix?
The shows, they're all from basically, we're just a presenter. We don't do any type of we don't actually have a show, a Playhouse Square show. So everything that we do, a lot of the cast will be from out of town. However, what was very unique with us here in Northeast Ohio, it is very rare that a Broadway show comes in where we do not have 1, 2, or 3 cast members that either are that have lived here in Northeast Ohio, or that have gone to school here at one of the schools with colleges, Baldwin Wallace. It's very common that when we go down and look at the cast, and I'm in the group sales area, I oversee the group sales thing. So when I see a show come in, first thing I'm looking at is a cast list, and I'm looking down to see if there's any local connection, any Ohio connection. And like I said, it's very rare for me not to find one, and not just Baldwin Wallace has a great theater program, but even like Kent State, they have they have a great theatrical department where I see a lot of alumni from them will be coming in on the Broadway cast. So per se, no, we don't have the local cast, but when they do come in, it's probably 3, 4, or 5 in a Broadway cast that would have some connection. A lot of times they will have connections of past shows that they've been on here at Playhouse Square. Sometimes Baldwin Wallace will put on a show at Playhouse Square, and you look back at their credits, and that's one thing they listed. So that is nice to see. So,
thank you. And gotten some comments here that love the presentation. Big support. I think we have a lot of supporters here in the Rotary of the Playhouse Theater. So, anybody else have any questions? Just want to unmute themselves and ask.
Of course I do, because I have a vested interest in this. When this all started, boy, did I get an education on how a traveling Broadway show works, and how it just doesn't originate in the city, and how it comes from Broadway or it comes from London, and all that's entailed with bringing it to here. So when Broadway went shut down, it was just second nature that Playhouse Square did. Second of all, Playhouse Square has treated their employees wonderfully through this, from their salary down to their volunteer, their red coats, their hourly. They did everything they could to really take care of them through this, which eased some parents' minds on this meeting. And second of all, last of all, Allie, I know you've told me before, Playhouse Square is this, tell me what it is as far as markets go in the.
So Playhouse Square, when we ended the 2019-2020 season, we had 50,000 season ticket holders. That is the largest theater subscriber base in North America, not just the United States, but in North America. Less than that renewed for this upcoming season, but we are hopeful that we will get back to that number. And Playhouse Square is also the second largest performing arts district in the country, second only to Lincoln Center in New York City. So we have a lot going on. And just as a sidebar, the 2021-2022 season will be our centennial. So we will be celebrating 100 years of Playhouse Square come fall.
And I'll be remiss to not include, we are also the producers of the Akron Broadway series at EJ Thomas. So I think we're going on our 5th year doing presenting Broadway down in Akron. We absolutely love it. We love the facility. We love the great people that we work with, and we've been able to grow that program. I think last I checked, we have about 2,500 season ticket holders, and I might be off by 100 or 2 on that. But it's a great relationship that we have down in Akron, and one that we look forward to continuing. And once again, they're also looking at, or we're looking at starting them back up in the fall of 21 as well.
Very good. Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? See anybody else?
I just have a question on logistics, having worked at the Children's Hospital, and we have sensory rooms for some of our kids who get really stimulated and have to calm down. When you do these shows, are there other amenities that you offer to the families if a child reacts kind of paradoxically?
Yeah. If you're familiar, like when we did Lion King, if you're familiar, we had that Lion King was in the State Theater. Well, right next door was the Ohio Theater. And what we set up there, we set up quiet zones, or sensory zone, to where if we need to take a break. And when actually, honestly, I was one of the ones that my son needed to take a break at intermission. We needed to, at the beginning of the second half, we needed to take a little break and go over there. And we set up little areas where, one, they could just decompress, different activities or different very low key activities. But we also made sure that we had ample family restrooms or changing areas as well. So we tried to look at all the needs that somebody would be facing and wanted to make sure people knew when they came down, they didn't have to worry about that. What happens if we have to give medicine? Okay, hey, we're right here. We can help out. We can do this. We have areas where if you need to give medicine and need a private area, we had stations roped off or curtained off from everybody to where it was private, and you didn't need to be out in the middle of the public to give medicine or feel something embarrassed and then be like, no, there's places that you could go. And it was we had extra volunteers from a lot of the hospitals in the area or a lot of the special needs organizations. They came down, they trained our ushers, our redcoats, on anything from approaching the kids to, giving out sensory toys for the kids in the seats, whatever they need. We encouraged iPads, we encouraged headphones, we encouraged all kinds of different things. Whatever, if there was something that was going to make the family and the child feel welcome and more comfortable at the show, we did it. And even though it's like, oh, wait a minute, that goes against rule number 1 that we have normally. Well, hey, those rules got thrown out the window on that day.
And I should also know, if you've never attended a sensory-friendly performance, the show has changed a little bit. So instead of the lights coming all the way down, they stay maybe at half, so they're not in complete darkness. Maybe some of the scarier or the lights might be adjusted a little bit on stage to make it it brings all of the senses down a little bit. So that, combined with all of the support that we had from the local community with the training and on all of that, it really makes a huge difference in these kids' lives if they've never been able to attend a live performance like this before.
Well, I think it's phenomenal to advocate for those families as well, because as some of you may know, those families don't get a break. And to be able to do something that many of us would take for granted with their entire family is really an opportunity. I commend your efforts, and I think that's a phenomenal program. And thanks for your comments today. Are there any other questions or comments? Well, I want to remind everybody that we do have a brief front end of our meeting next week. We will not have the usual rituals. We will really convene and have our induction. And then we will break and go to the Zoom at Stan Hewitt for our holiday tour of the Stan Hewitt. So Allie and Chris, if you're not doing anything next week at noon and you want to tour Stan Hewitt, you're welcome to be our guests. And Katie's going to send out, Katie, why don't you tell them what you're going to send out?
So in celebration of our holiday gathering, in addition to wearing your favorite or tackiest or most extravagant holiday top, I'll be sending out some recipes for some mocktails and or cocktails if you feel like having some holiday joy during the lunch hour, and maybe a couple of like Christmas cookie recipes, but something that kind of gets you in the spirit a little bit. And you look for that email to come out a little bit later this week.
Great. Well, thank you. So again, that's virtual Stan Hewitt next week. And that really brings us to the end of our meeting here, about 6 minutes early, but please feel free to stay on and chat a little bit. I regretfully have a 1 o'clock Zoom that I've got to Zoom right to at the hospital here. So I will sign off and wish you well till next week. And thanks again to Allie and Chris. Let me flip my camera so you can see the bells legit. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.